Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. My name is Fumi Moshi. If you're watching this on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, you're welcome to my platform. Kindly follow me, like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so very much for stopping by to watch this video. My name is Fumi Moshi. I'm a lecturer in one of the in one of the state universities in Nigeria, and I am also a PhD research student in trauma communication. And I'll be using my platform to talk about trauma awareness and how we can create trauma-informed approaches to implement them. Sometimes as PhD researchers, we go to the field to look for problems and offer solutions, but most of our thesis just end up on the shelves of our supervisors, right? Just end up, in the universities where we graduated from. So I don't want that to be the case, and that's why I said, okay, I'm going to make use of my thesis, right? The research problems, research questions, the recommendations, the findings, just to help people so that we can help our society to be a better place, one child at a time. Now, when we talk about trauma, there is no child, their minds are not blank. Sometimes you can say, oh, children, their minds are not blank. At one point or another, even as adults, we have gone through or experienced trauma. Now, you can say, oh, she's a lecturer, English lecturer, and she teaches English language, or she studied communication. So, what has trauma got to do with communication? Oh, yes, trauma has a lot to do with communication because trauma is under health communication. And, we have applied communication, and communication cuts across all fields, right? So I am not going to be talking about the clinical or the psychological aspect of trauma, but I'm going to focus on how trauma impacts communication. So we're going to see the nexus between trauma and communication. I'm just here to help parents, help teachers, help students navigate this process, and even administrators and school owners on how to implement policies, that can maybe make their teachers to be trauma aware, or train them on trauma informed approaches. Right? What is trauma? It's not a big word. Trauma is just any triggering event that can send your brain into fight, flight, or freeze mode. Right? Sometimes trauma might not be your own experience, right? It could be it could be an unpleasant experience that you have witnessed, right? Now, it could not be, so some people say, oh, I don't think I've experienced trauma before. I've not been traumatized, right? But some of you you have lived with parents that abused each other. Some of you come from broken homes. You've witnessed domestic violence firsthand. Some of you have witnessed accidents. You are eyewitnesses to accidents, right? Some of you, I'm sure, some during the 2020 NSAS, right? I witnessed firsthand how people were shot, broad daylight. So many events like that, that causes trauma. You might not dwell on it, but yes, it's traumatizing. So there are so many types of trauma. It could be generational trauma, right? So people who are experiencing racism is part of trauma, or probably a natural disaster, is part of it, and the likes. So it could be caused by accident, deaths of a loved one. Someone loses a loved one, It can be traumatizing, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual molestation, name it, rape, bullying. There are lots, right, that can cause trauma, that can make you freeze, that can make you fly, that's flight mode, or fight, like you want to be defiant. Now, how can parents identify trauma in their kids at home? How can teachers identify this in the classroom? Right, you have to make use of communication cues, and that's non-verbal language, non-verbal communication. You have to look at what the students or the children are not saying. Look at their body language more. When we communicate, our body to communicate, and that's what we call, that's the aspect of non-verbal communication, right? You have to look out for ADHD as a teacher in the classroom, attention deficits and hyperactivity disorder. When you see your students are hyperactive in class, or you see your students are withdrawn, they are not responding, right? You need to, approach them. Now, sometimes your tone matters. That's what I'm emphasizing on non-verbal communication, because your tone matters a lot when you are handling traumatized students. For you as a teacher to be trauma aware, you need to watch your tone. You need to watch the pitch of your voice. You have to show more empathy and change the choice of your language, of your words, right? Instead of saying, "What's wrong with you? You're not writing, you're not talking." You can just approach the student softly, say, "How may I be of help to you? How may I be of assistance? Are you finding any difficulty navigating this? Are you facing any challenge?" You do that softly, right? So that the students will be able to feel more relaxed to talk to you. Sometimes it could be that the materials you use in class, right, can cause trauma, can re-traumatize students. Yes, some of our students are experiencing trauma, and probably their parents have taken them to see a therapist, right? You as a teacher can re-traumatize that child if you're not trauma aware. That's why trauma awareness is very key as a teacher, right? You have to, be sensitive to the kind of materials you use in the classroom. So if you're going to use a material in black and white, or an audiovisual material, a visual material, ensure you have digested that material and you send a trigger warning. You have to drop a trigger warning for the students that, oh, this video contains graphic images of violence, of this, of that, strong words, so that the students know what they are signing up for, right? Because if you do not, there will be reactions, and it will be disruptive for your class. You might not be able to achieve your learning objectives for that day. And so whenever this disruptive behavior arises anyway, if you are trauma aware as a teacher, you have to integrate regulation techniques, right, in a classroom for such traumatized children. One of those regulating or regulation technique is taking deep breaths, right? So you find a corner, a safe space in the classroom where the students can take deep breaths, so that before, to come out of that shock, right, that they have been put in based on the materials that are used in the classroom. Anyway, that'll be all for now. In my next video, I'll talk about communication strategies and communication cues that we can use to identify traumatized students in the classroom, so that we can help them, either to refer them to therapists or psychologists. Thank you so very much for stopping by. Bye bye. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.